Don't do it till I come. Don't do it till I come to South Carolina so I can stop and see you.
Would love to see
Thank
you.
you.
All right. Today we are going to go over letter 4 in the Christ letters. That's starting on page 113. I'm not going to read it verbatim because you guys have it. You can go back and read it after. But this has come up twice this week. First with Mother Akasha in my Wednesday class, and then again with Mother Mary on her broadcast Friday. So when I was in meditation, actually, when I heard both of those, I went, okay, this is what we need to discuss and talk about. The synopsis for this part of letter 4 is he's talking about why he wrote these letters, that even when he was known as Jesus, he didn't come to preach a new doctrine. The point, so I'm just going to skim through that so we have a little basis, but where I'm really going to dive into the meat of it is going to be on page 115. And the meat of it and why it is so crucial at this time to bring this forward and break it down, because this is talking about the time we're living in right now that has been prophesied and all the turmoil that is on the planet right now. So that has been very pressing on me. And with that, I know you guys are doing the Amazing Grace song with me. That came from Mother Akasha. That was a directive to us, and we were asked to spread that. And I know I broke down a little bit of the song. I didn't even break down the whole "when we've been here 10,000 years" part. I will talk about that at some point. But here's the thing with ascended masters and angels. Whenever they come to us, they bring us gifts. Those gifts are ways of instructions, things to help us, because they cannot come into our octave or move on the behalf of anybody without us free will inviting them in, and being that vessel of light and love to go out. Jesus's letters, his purpose for doing this is, one, to bring the truth of existence, what his message was, but also for those of us who resonate with this message, resonate with resurrection and ascension, bringing light and love, the one law. We are those pillars that Jesus can work through, that the other masters could bring through. We are in that training to be able to hold that light and love in our own life, and just walking into a room without even opening our mouths, that light goes before us. So with that, we know we have all this density that we've taken on that isn't us, but we've believed it is. Getting through that density, little by little, we're bringing in that light. The masters are here to help guide us. The masters will never tell you what you have to do. They're not going to, come in and say, "La, here I am. Now I'm going to give you this, this, and this." No, they walked on earth. They went through this just like we are. Aside from a few of them, when they were here on the earth, like Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, and the family of Jesus, Mother Mary had some insight, but she didn't know all of it. She had to go through this density and clear it out. And it wasn't until after, a few years after Jesus's death and coming back, she still didn't want to hear what he had to say because it went against her Jewish upbringing and it caused a lot of conflict. But eventually she saw the light, and obviously, they all had purposes and roles to fulfill. I say all that because we, depending on our background, we have different preconceived ideas of what ascended masters are. And the ascended host, there is a hierarchy, and I will come out with like a hierarchy chart so you guys can kind of get a better understanding who's who does what, how does it work. But they are our guides. They're our teachers for us to learn from. So they always bring us gifts of enlightenment to help us. And they're so patient. And I see this happen a lot, even, the students that are getting the same messages. Thank God the ascended masters are so patient, because as humans, we could be just assholes. I've watched students try to dictate to the masters what they should do and how they should do it, because their humanness isn't comfortable with a word they said or how they said it or whatever. So I say that because that is part of our process going through. So if that comes up in you, just know, yeah, that's altered ego. And it's there to cause confusion. All right. So in letter 4, I, the Christ, I've come in my love for you to make a summary of all that I perceived during enlightenment in the desert and try to teach the Jews in Palestine 2,000 years ago. Some details of my earthly life have been written down in letters 1, 2, and 3. If you have read these, you will know it is of the utmost importance to your well-being to understand that whilst my followers eventually created a religion they called Christianity, founded on reports of my life and teachings, I am not dictating these letters to teach and confirm what my followers have taught. Christianity is a formal religion which, purely for reasons of expediency, took on many beliefs contrary to the spiritual truth of our source of being. What has the spilling of blood to do with the universal spirit? As you must now realize, my teaching from the very beginning of my mission on earth in Palestine has always been born of the highest spiritual truth of existence, having nothing to do with human concepts and rationalizations as taught by human minds. Therefore, I repeat empathetically, whilst my persona on earth 2,000 years ago was that of Jesus, the purpose of my presence, the Christ presence within these letters, is to reach sensitive and inspired souls to teach them how to draw on divine assistance during the future horror in which the world will ultimately be embroiled. That is right now. He is speaking about this time right now. For this reason, my powerful longing to rescue those who can receive me has been crystallized in the form of truth of existence within these letters. Know this and heed this. I would have you know and take particular note that I came to the Jews in Palestine 70 years before Jerusalem was razed to the ground. I came to the Jews to warn them that their code of conduct would be of no value to them when the future time of travail came upon them, sending them out into a hostile world. It is recorded in a gospel that I went in despair, lamenting the fact that I would have gathered the people as chicks beneath a mother's hen's breast to protect them in their time of destruction. But the people would not heed me. Instead, their religious leaders put me to death. But after the dispersal of the Jews, when their temple was taken from them, did they learn from their experiences? Did they wonder why such a catastrophe had overtaken them? Nope. They continued in their old traditions and belief in their superiority, although repeatedly historical events proved to them that they were subject to disasters and were other people. At this very time, they have chosen to ignore the truths of existence as I taught them in Palestine, and are bringing upon themselves the same conditions as followed my earthly life in Palestine. Basically, he was trying to talk to the altered ego of the Jews. No matter where they may reside, their materialistic values, their head for an eye traditions are drawing to them the human sorrow they have created for others down the ages by their arrogance and greed. Everything they have endured, they have brought upon themselves. This also applies to those who, through expediency, have allied themselves with Jews because of their financial power within world financial spheres and world markets. Where was I? World markets. Who is it keeps the vast majority of the world populations hungry when there is sufficient food stockpiled to feed people adequately if profit as motive for existence was abandoned? Given the will, financial leaders could formulate and embark on plans to distribute the surplus of goods to the underprivileged. If they were to do so, they would find the entire universe responding with blessings. World economy would flourish and peace would become a world condition. Before this can happen, what has already been created in consciousness and by aggressive, debased actions worldwide must first be drawn into materialized human experience, not as retribution, but as a natural working of laws of existence. Rest assured that countries who resist the evil of others are only resisting the consequences of their own seeds of consciousness and actions in years gone by. Oops, sorry. Therefore, bully boy tactics, the ferocious attack of the mighty upon the weak, no matter how intransigent the weak may appear to be, can only bring even greater times of trouble for the bullies. Where they experienced a pinprick, they are stockpiling in consciousness the future devastation they are presently dumping on others. Perhaps they should regard the pinprick from the weak as a bugle call to alert them to their downward slide into moral decadence. Because such people are constantly breaking the laws of existence and drawing destruction of an unparalleled magnitude upon cities and earth, it is my intention in this letter not only to summarize all that I taught and lived in Palestine, but to spell out clearly the underlying causes of your approaching world crisis, which I did not cover when I last came to mankind in speech. So basically he's saying what the humans have done out of their consciousness towards others from their seat of piety and thinking they're right and wanting to rule the world, they set in motion. Not only is it affecting the people they intended to affect, it's going right back on them. These letters have been written prior to the most crucial time in your history. And when the travail is truly upon you, you will wonder why I did not warn you earlier. This right now is the time he's talking about. This, we are in those times. We're not in, before I move on, I want to make it clear. The prophecies that have come forth, we are not going to witness, you know, you're standing with somebody and the person next to you just disappears and their clothes are there. That's not what's going to happen. Yes, there is turmoil. There is tribulation. We are in the tribulation times. It is not God doing it. It is not God's wrath. It literally is the human consciousness, the earth and all the elements giving back what we have been putting out against the laws of existence. All right, but I have to tell you, through receptive minds, I have been trying to alert the world for the past 25 years, but neither media nor publishing house nor TV was prepared to listen and give me the opportunity to speak to you through my agents. Politicians could reach you, but I, the Christ, could not do so because of the hardness of your hearts and your refusal to concede that I, the living Christ, could return at this time through deprogrammed and dedicated minds to warn nations of what they were creating for themselves in the future. That altered ego is strong. The hardened hearts means their heart chakra is closed. They are closed to the truth. The churches who claim to believe in my existence have been as self-absorbed in their own humanly conceived religious traditions as have the materialists. Now the 11th hour, when fear has descended on the masses and they are prepared to heed my words, the doors must surely open, or again my efforts for humanity will have been in vain. I have come to say there will indeed be a sorting of the goats from the sheep, as has been recorded in the Gospels in the Bible. The sheep refer to those souls who can peacefully receive the highest spiritual truth yet dispensed on earth. The goats refer to those who do not have the capacity to listen to anyone or anything because they have too great a rebellious spirit and ego drive. We are starting to see this play out in our world now. We can take this, put this into today's terms. The sheep are the enlightened ones. We are the ones that are turning away from the hardened hearts, the matrix. But right now, yes, there are more goats than there are the sheep. Why will they be separated at this time? They will be separated because those who are able to receive the truth contained within these pages and to live by the guidelines of the laws of existence will find that although the next period of world history will be bitter indeed, they will continue in comparative peace and protection, fulfillment of need, and upliftment of spirit. Guys, when we choose to get on this path and awaken and enlighten and look to our I am presence first, we have that protection. That Christ consciousness comes in us, all around us. We have the ascended masters, the angels. We have energetic protection because we are the sheep that are here to help humanity turn back to the truth and turn back to life. I started at the beginning talking again about the song Amazing Grace and how the masters always come and give us gifts. One of the things about doing that exercise, singing one version of American Amazing Grace in the morning and a different one in the evening, this we're doing for the consciousness of the rest of humanity and the world. But in doing that, being of service in that way on a larger scale, we get to reap those benefits because we reap what we sow. So if we're doing this for others and humanity and the planet, guess what? We are going to see grace work in our life in ways we could have never imagined. This is something that I see working in my life on a daily basis, and it blows my mind. So that's another reason to, especially during these times, as we're going to, you think you've seen a lot of stuff come out now? This is just preparing the people for what is going to be unveiled. there's a lot of preparation. Saint Germain has been overlighting Hollywood. The movies that are coming out now are really desensitized, not all of them, but like the superhero movies, Doctor Strange, Avatar, all of those things. These people that seem to be normal, and then all of a sudden trauma or a tragic event happens, and now they have gifts and they can work with energy and all of that. That is helping to desensitize the masses to the light workers that are coming, who take on the Christ consciousness. Because when he was here on earth, yes, he did miracles, but as we further our understanding in this, we break down what miracles are. They are parts of laws of existence. We will be able to do what he did and do it greater as we start to learn all of these different things. Jesus walked on water. People think it's a miracle. We have certain energy centers. We have them in the middle of our palms. We have them on the bottom of our feet. We have the third eye. There are different things built within our body that are designed to transmute and send out energy. Jesus didn't know this till he went through the Himalayan mystery school. He got the theory and the education when he was in the garden and went through his enlightenment. That's when he made this real and started to see things with that higher sight, realize he can send out energy through his palms and through his feet. It was those centers at the bottom of his feet that allowed him to walk on the water. All right. This is not a punishment from someone on high, but a natural working out of the law of existence. What you carry in your minds and hearts will eventually externalize in your body, life, and environment. When you resist and rebel, life offers resistance to you in the fulfillment of your desires. That is a principle. And that's why you'll always hear me say, what you resist persists. If you're resisting something, lean into that. I have long since ascended in the highest frequencies of consciousness, vibration in the celestial kingdom, and am divine consciousness itself individualized. My consciousness can encircle the globe to whoever calls on me. So it is with all the great teachers who have lived on earth and were enlightened and perceived the reality of the source of all being and have taught people from their exalted level of enlightenment. They were lifted in spiritual power to penetrate the dense veil of human consciousness and perceive what truly lay beyond the world of matter. They saw as clearly as previous mental conditioning would permit the basic unity of creation within the realm of creativity itself. One and all have, after transition into the next dimension of existence, escaped the treadmill of reincarnation and moved on into higher realms of individual, pure spiritual consciousness to the portals of universal consciousness itself. They have become individualized divine consciousness, possessing the power and the insight of divine consciousness. They too share in the Christ consciousness. As I said in an earlier letter, they combine the heights of intelligent love with the heights of loving intelligence, combining the power of will with the power of purpose. They are equally male and female in their drives. They are the perfect demonstration of strength and nurturing. So we have the Christ, Muhammad, Allah, Buddha, the Tao, all of those. They were all here to express and teach the Christ consciousness. Buddhism's not a religion, it's more a philosophy, but it's all rooted in the source of existence. They are the perfect example of what all men and women should be striving to attain. To attain to such perfection of being, the human spirit must set aside all divisions and rivalry. Whoever may be your acclaimed prophet, you can be assured that he is life itself and powerful within the brotherhood of all great teachers. Each prophet, each teacher has perceived the same reality and lived in such a prayerful way to ensure he will eventually achieve the goal of every man, perfection in paradise. It is vitally important you should understand this and realize that the divisions you make between your teachers are wholly erroneous, because we are all united in our common source of being. We are a brotherhood of beings of life, each manifesting through our individuality the highest truth of our source of being. We are equal in purity, power, beauty, grandeur of spirit, and love. I want to tie this back to what Ileana had posted the other day about being the black sheep and being sassy and feeling, constrained in that, or that was wrong. Jesus himself, we probably all grew up with this image of this just half God, half man, holier than thou, never did anything wrong, blah, blah, blah. That's all bullshit. Jesus was rebellious as they come. He had an attitude. He came across as a know-it-all. He was quick-tempered, and he took sassy to a whole new being. And he really strives throughout the letters and in his teachings that we are the individualized presence of Mother, Father, God, the image and likeness, the light and love. We are not here to please a God. We are here to express God in our own individuality. And there's no human and no God, no being anywhere that can tell you you're wrong or that's not right. We have free will, and we have that free will so we can individualize our own I am presence. So, be sassy, as long as there's one law, the law of existence, the law of love, essential harmlessness, do unto others as you would have done unto yourself. That's it. Outside of that, anything in religion is dogma. And I don't mean to bag on religion. I'm really just trying to stress that religion is a structure within its own word. The root word of religion is religio, Latin, and it means to hold into bondage. So, I kind of struggled with that of, I kind of have a sailor's mouth. I can be sassy. I could be, really funny, and I'll drop an F-bomb like nobody's business. And God's not judging me. Nobody is. Well, humans are. So Jesus is saying, we were given our individuality and our free will to express God however we choose to. And this goes back to spirituality. The truth about spirituality is there's no right way. There's no one way. Yes, there's one mountain. Many ways to get up that mountain. Spirituality is something that is supposed to be sacred, unique and individual to each person. And it's not something that you have to go around sharing. And by all means, it is not meant for any of us to push it on anybody else. We are here to honor other people's beliefs, whatever they are, and not here to tell anybody, oh, you're wrong, or you don't pray right, or you're not doing this, blah, blah, blah. That's not our role. We're not supposed to be doing that. That is ego. And that whole ego of wanting to be right. you guys hear me say all the time, and I say it the way I say it because I'll be the first one to admit I bought into the whole Christian dogma, the Pentecostal, all of it. And so I laugh now and go, why do I have to push my beliefs on anybody else and get them saved? Do I get a frequent flyer punch card? Is there a pot of gold for how many souls I save? How fucking ridiculous is that shit? It's ridiculous. And I say it now, but it took me years to get over the guilt and shame and the embarrassment. Now I'm just like, my heart was seeking, and I gained so much knowledge and wisdom, and I was able to crack the code and come out of that time, but I needed that time. That was part of my time in religion to get to my part of enlightenment. But at the base of it, I always had a heart for Jesus. I still do. I mean, I loved him, but I didn't believe a lot of what I was taught. And like you guys, those of you who follow me and align with this, you too have that same heart. You have that deep love. And that's part of the purpose. And we do need to get to that point of, one, forgiving ourselves, and letting all of that dogma go and how we were bound to it. But there is that forgiveness piece, because even today, there are people with beautiful hearts in religion, in different religions. And there is a point and a purpose. The ascended masters, they are looking for people with love in their heart who they know can turn to the light. They will work with those in the different religions who have that heart. The people in religion may not know that they're being overlit, or this internal knowing or whatever is coming from an ascended master or something. They're going to relate it through their filter. But the bottom line is, it's the heart. Because the other side of the coin is, there's a lot of people in religion, there's a lot of people in power that do not have that heart, and they are creating more division. I will bring this back to Christianity. This was always a huge with me. One of the reasons I threw the pulpit, the whole, well, God doesn't approve of the gay, or, you have a different skin color, or this, that, or the other. That is all erroneous. We all bleed the same. We are all made in the image and likeness of God. Not everybody expresses it the same way, but all of these ideas of division and separatism and who's higher and who's not, where did it start? Religion. So there are those, but here's the thing. The more of us that rise up in the light, that turn away from the density, and come from light and love, these people, these organizations that are not of the light, the goats, will be exposed. This is part of what we're going to start seeing. We are going to start seeing the truth and the veils being removed behind sex trafficking, child pornography, the greed. All of that is about to come out. Since 2020, the things that we have been exposed to and have seen have been leading up for more of this to come. And it was prophesied. We're in the middle of it. Remember I talked about the song Amazing Grace and the 10,000 years? That verse that says, when we've been here 10,000 years, the seventh golden age that we're in now, it is designed, the time frame of that golden age is 10,000 years. It started December 21st, 2012. That was the first day of the seventh golden age. The first 7 years of any golden age are the toughest. Why? Because we've got to get through all of that density. People got to wake up. They have to, you guys know, once you awaken, then there's a whole nother process that you got to figure out. And how do we maneuver all of that? So the first 7 years are going to be the most intense. The next 3 years, we are going to, it's going to be more intense. The more we turn towards the light and love, we keep our focus on the light and the love, not getting involved or putting our attention on the media, who's doing what and all of that. We are in our purpose, holding the light, allowing Jesus to come through, allowing the masters to come through and help bring that light, clear all this stuff up. So that is, we can't make a mistake about it. I've tried to not talk on this just because of timing. But like I said, this week with it coming up and in meditation, getting that green light of, okay, you need to start talking about this. Because we've got Jupiter in Pisces. That hasn't happened. I want to say it's like 853 years, or it's a really long time. It's a really big deal. The last time this happened, a treaty in Paris, in France was signed, a lot of major global shakeups and things. Jupiter is the planet of unexpected events. So you're going to start seeing things, hearing things. You're going to be able to see more as you get into the letters and into your own inner work and understanding energy. You're going to be able to start to see it clearer. One, when it's in you and in others. So that's why there's that big call to don't pay attention to the media. One, it's all staged. It is all designed to keep people separate, to cause division, and to cause confusion. All right. Therefore, the sheep of every religious persuasion, those who have sufficiently evolved in spiritual understanding of the fundamental unity in your source of being, should swiftly seek out and bond with your spiritual brethren worldwide. Oh, wait, hold on. I skipped a line. Should swiftly seek to unite in equal brotherhood in your towns and countries, and reach out and bond with your spiritual brethren worldwide, irrespective of all that is taking place in the external world. You should transcend all religious differences, Christian, Muslim, Sufi, Jew, Israeli, Palestinian, Hindu, Buddhist, etc., and regard yourselves as all being equally within the safe haven of universal love and universal intelligent protection, at peace with yourself, with each other, and with those who are determined to fight to a finish. Only in this way will your planet survive the turmoil which lies ahead of you. I have also returned to all those who are neither Muslim nor Christian, Buddhist nor Hindu. I have come to those who desire, nay long, to know the reality behind all existence. I have told you that I came in the persona of Jesus to the Jews to Palestine. I might well have said that I came to the Arabs in the persona of Muhammad, since Muhammad and I are of one spirit. To divide us into persona, having different names, Jesus and Muhammad, or Muhammad and Jesus, is the same as giving identical twins different surnames because one teaches literature and the other teaches math. We are both of Christ consciousness, both individualizations of divine consciousness. When on earth we both spoke of a God of love and mercy, according to the way in which our humanity permitted us to perceive our inspired knowledge from God. You must bear in mind that we were both human beings who had been deeply conditioned by our traditional beliefs inherited down the ages. Therefore, our inspiration came to us through minds already possessed by other ideas. Like I was just saying earlier, they too had to work through the human ego. We are no different. This divide that, Jesus is this, divine being that isn't tangible or being really can relate to us. He absolutely can. He didn't realize his divinity and this knowledge and enlightenment until he was taught, and he had to battle the human mind. But as I have already told you, I was a rebel almost from the outset of my life and could not accept the Judaic beliefs. I was a clean, eagerly receptive, open-minded vessel into which the truth of existence could be poured in the desert, enabling me to see universal consciousness clearly. Now, our perceptions are of the very highest order. We are of one mind, one life, one love, reaching out equally to Muslim and Jew and Christian, Buddhist and all people, atheist or agnostic. Our only motive in calling to them is to bring them inspired, heart-changing insight, which will enable them to recognize their essential underlying brotherhood in spirit. Encourage them to think new thoughts, relate to each other peacefully with forgiveness in their hearts, and thereafter live their lives differently, drawing light from their source of being. We would both speak of universal consciousness to you who are living in this present scientific age because you have traveled far into scientific understanding and can now receive what we both have to say. Together we say with one voice, heed, listen. We and you on earth are all one at the very roots of our being. Whatever destruction you hand out to others, you are also handing out to yourselves. We must make it clear that we have come to all people of good sense, goodwill, and good heart, irrespective of their present race and religious beliefs. We embrace love, draw you all into our consciousness, mantle of protection and safety. We are aware of your problems on earth at this present time. We are aware of the century-old conflicts between Judaism and Islam. But this rift has nothing to do with us. Your squabbles leave us unmoved. Why jeopardize your own good, your own future felicity by fighting over some concept which is meaningless and therefore without value? In reality, you adhere to your chosen religions because in the depths of your heart, you are all reaching out to the source of your being, although you call your source of being by different names. We are both aware of the struggles of individual Jews to live a good life and of individuals of Islam to truly reverence and venerate Allah throughout the day, attributing all they do and achieve to his power working on their behalf, and of Christians immersed in their beliefs of salvation by the blood of Jesus. You are all striving to attain goodness, but will never do so whilst you remain divided in your beliefs. On the maelstrom of the present world consciousness of mutual aggression has been fully spent. The day will surely come when Muslim, Jew, Christian, Buddhist, and Hindu will gather together, rejecting their differences in religious beliefs and mingling as one people to give thanks to divine consciousness, out of which they have drawn their being, and from which will come all future boundless blessings of beautiful, inspired, and caring lives. Together you will rebuild an old foundations and will say, you'll rebuild on old foundations and will say, let such a thing never happen between people again. For now we know that at the roots of our existence, we are truly one. When I make you suffer, I too am lessened in divine life, and my own suffering will follow. We and the brotherhood within Christ consciousness are also fully aware of Buddhists and Hindus, followers of Tao, the spiritual adepts in the Philippines, and every other sect and religious discipline in every country, which is aimed at reaching and touching, even momentarily, the equilibrium of their universal source of being. We are aware of all. You are all encompassed within our universal love, compassion, and caring. You are all important to us, irrespective of your beliefs, for you are all one at the grassroots of your being. Your souls are unified in divine consciousness. One and all, you are unified and at one soul level within your source of being. He goes on to talk about rain and the source of rain and raindrops. It's one source, the rain falls down. Say you have some rain in your hand and you take green food coloring. You color that rain green. It doesn't mean that you change the root of it. It's still rain. It's just now different because it's colored green. No better, no less, just expressing itself as green rain. And that's what he's talking about with our consciousness and how silly and detrimental all of this division is. And that's what the seventh golden age is about. That's why we're seeing the things that we're seeing and we're going to see. It's the playing out and the tearing down of the divisions to come all back into one. Whew. All right. Anybody have any questions? Let me unmute you all. Okay.
Okay. I was hoping you'd come across this, but it just flashed in my mind. Remembering it. That is a chapter, and if you go a little farther in the reading, I'm not sure where because I don't have the book in front of me, but it says, how about how him and Muhammad were the same, and they were in their beliefs, and even though when he was on earth, he chose to be celibate, and Muhammad had many women. That's where I got confused.
We're back to the celibacy.
I know, but I know we're not supposed to.
We're back on that. All right, hold on.
I got hung up on what he meant. Because I'm reading the other book and it's like I'm confused.
Well,
don't you know what comes up for me, not that I know the friggin' answer, Denae, you definitely are the expert or the professional here in this area, is that what if the word celibate doesn't mean what we think it does?
Absolutely.
Oh.
Yep. Remember what I was telling you, Jenny, about words? That there's different meanings because Jesus's language was different. They still kind of struggle today with some of our words, but a lot of the meanings have been changed. And we can't get hung up on certain words because that's ego wanting to get in there and cause doubt.
Okay.
Because Jesus loved his prostitutes. He absolutely did. Muhammad loved his women. Guess what? So did Buddha. From a young age. Do you guys know that the Buddha, when he was younger, he had a harem every day. Women, all different ages, were brought to him to tend to his needs. So, and again,
I'm getting hung up on a word, I know.
Well, and it goes back to the belief that Jesus wasn't human. That he would, and so as I'll ask you again, what is and you know, when I say I ask you, I want you to go ask yourself and meditate on it, because there is a root belief there about God having sex that
Yeah.
that doesn't sit right with you.
I guess.
So
I-
that could absolutely go back to a womb issue and our own sexual issues.
Maybe, I don't know. I just no, it doesn't bother me so much, the idea that he was or he wasn't. What I'm just confused by it, because I'm trying to get rid of all of the things I used to think and was taught,
Yeah.
but
Here,
yet
I found it.
and know the truth, so I can believe in that. And I guess I'm getting hung up.
Yeah. So you're talking about, I believe it's on page 130 and 131. Let me see. All right. I'm going to start at the bottom of 130. Let me see. Well, should I go up to? Let me start at the top of 130. Divine consciousness, despite all the differing terminologies used by various nations, they will have reached that level of spiritual awareness when they can perceive that behind all color, language, beliefs, actions of whatever kind, all people, all creation itself is at the one grass root of their being. Man and ant share the same origins within the equilibrium of universal consciousness. This is true freedom, the only freedom. Until you are prepared to realize and accept that your source of being within you and above and around you can indeed flow into your mind and body directly in response to prayer, you will be subject to all the ailments of the earthly and human consciousness. When you steal, you will lose things also. When you fight and wound, maim and kill, you will be maimed, wounded, or killed in body and or spirit. When you start a war, it will be a long and bitter struggle. Everything evil you endure, you have been the original cause of. Yours is the ability to choose the way you wish to live in future. You choose the way you will live by changing your consciousness from antagonism to love and acceptance of everyone equally. If you imagine the damage and hurt you would like to inflict on another, your thought will reach your enemy and will erode their strength according to the intensity of your intention. Do not think that your thought has dissolved and is no more. It rests in electromagnetic strength, taking on form until it rebounds to harm you also. You can do much damage with your thinking and feeling, damage to others and damage to yourself. Therefore, guard them, the tools of your creativity, well, and at all times turn to the Father, Allah, and divine consciousness. Ask for relief from any thought which is contrary to true unconditional love, according to the power of your prayer and the sincere faith in which you raise your mind to divine consciousness. Your thoughts will be imbued with new light and love. What we, the brotherhood of illuminates, the enlightened ones in Christ consciousness, are about to tell you is of vital importance to the world generally. We speak equally to Christian, Jews, Muslims, Hindu, Buddhists, and every religion and every race of the world. We speak to all because each and every one in the world needs this instruction to make it possible for you to move on to higher levels of spiritual awareness. Your personal and sexual relationships between men and women are of far more importance to your overall well-being than you can presently even imagine. We deal with these relationships at length in the following pages only because it is absolutely imperative, vital, for you men and women to wake up to the basic reality of your male or female individuality and identity and true source of gender differences. You must fully understand the true origins of your male and female bodies and characteristics. They are not just bodies created with differing physical organs and modes of sexual expression in order to create children. They draw the origins of their masculinity or femininity from their very source of being, from within the equilibrium of universal consciousness. I am telling you this before you read letter 5 so that you will study that letter, bearing in mind what I'm telling you now about your sexuality. I think what you're talking about is more in 5, but let's see. Therefore, if the sexuality of a man and woman is not used in conformity within divine consciousness intention expressed in the original act of creativity at the time of the Big Bang, it is obvious that although the sexuality may produce children, it will not bring to men and women the unity of being and personal fulfillment and joy it was meant to bring. In fact, the reverse is true. Eventually, the sexual act itself brings disappointment and satiation, after which any love previously felt by partners drains away. With knowledge and understanding, spiritually based men and women will make every attempt to transcend their present state of consciousness in regard to male and female relationships of any kind, no matter what those relationships may be, sexual or otherwise. They will strive to express within their minds and hearts the purpose for which they were created in different forms. They'll understand the origins of their differing innate impulses, temperaments, and modes of self-expression, will and value them. They will use their differences to enhance the well-being of each other. Competition will disappear. As this happens, they will tune into divine consciousness ever more easily. As they tune into divine consciousness ever more easily, so will they ascend into higher levels of spiritual consciousness. At the moment, your approach to your sexuality is your barrier to your ascension in consciousness. It is rooted in your humanhood. I kind of just want to say that because that goes back to the point of getting hung up on something that will impede you from dropping the human consciousness and allowing the truth to come in. And it also kind of talks to, you're going to read things in here, hear things that you may not really understand right now, because there's other principles or concepts that you need to, or we need to grab onto to build onto.
Yeah, it's sort of like getting people, let's just use supplements, for example, and they take what they think is the essence of a tomato, and this is supposed to give you everything the tomato does, but it's not. So you're saying we're not really in the wholeness of all of it. We're pulling out a piece.
Right.
So I have a question about this, to stop for just a second, to go back to what Jenny was speaking to with celibacy. Could he be meaning, as he's explaining this, could he be meaning that he became celibate by using sex in a way that was not of divine consciousness?
Yeah.
So he stepped away from the just mindless sex, just to have sex, or the self-gratification, the things that we tend to do these days, especially. And so he became more aligned with what sex really was meant to be. Is that more along the lines of the celibacy word? Yeah.
Yes, because celibacy is about an energy.
Yeah.
And Christ realized the power of that sexual energy. It literally is our life force. And when we engage in it outside of that consciousness container of love and acceptance, it is purely a physical human ego drive. And that life force, when that act is done, drains out of us. So the sexual energy, being that life force, starts in that root chakra and the base of your spine. It will ride up your spine and it intertwines. It's designed, when it's in the act of love and consciousness, to go up out of the crown. That energy should come out the crown chakra to touch your higher consciousness. So this is us in our little earthly bodies. This is showing us in the violet flame, the sacred fire. So during the sex act, if it's in love, this liquid light goes all the way up. This is your higher mental body, your I am presence. It touches that. That is that moment of that divine intertwining, that equilibrium that is now imbued. It goes back into your body to fill your body with more light source, to where, well, let me finish that. If it's not done in love, that energy goes nowhere up there. It goes down and out your feet. It is wasted energy. And you can look around at people and see who has wasted that sexual energy. Their physical bodies, they will look older. They will look very drained. They will have health problems. It is that, because that sex energy is, it's a life force within us, and it's the source of creation. So yes, that it's all about the energy and the consciousness behind it. Let me see real quick. I don't want to keep reading through it. I want to try to zone in. And I'm trying to look for the word celibacy.
It was where he was talking again about he and Muhammad being doing exactly the same thing when and teaching the same things, but just the difference when they were here, the difference between, it might have been when he's got more into talking about respecting women for the way the Middle Eastern men were treating women.
Right.
I'm not
Oh,
sure.
here we go. Let's see. Yeah, because it looks like he's.
Are you still in letter 5 or are you back in letter 4?
I'm on page 132. Hang on
Okay.
one
Yeah,
second.
it's
Okay.
either 132 or 135. I can't remember now, but yeah, it's in 4. Because I didn't even understand.
Okay,
5.
here it is. Well, wait a minute. Let me find celibacy, but yeah, so it is about the attitude. Hang on. Give me a moment, please.
Yeah, because the top of page 33 is speaking of how women were treated,
Yep.
shrouded in heavy garments, denied freedoms, Allah's fresh air, etc.
Yeah.
And it does say it is such followers that your prophet Muhammad would have attracted when he was on earth. No, indeed, he appealed only to the most spiritually minded of people.
Exactly.
So I think that it's actually letter, and it does talk about lowly state of the female sex, who regarded a woman as a man's possession. That still exists.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was just a comparison. He said, we are exactly alike, even though when we were on earth, he was this way and I was that, I was celibate. But he said celibate after his awakening. So that's what confused me, but that's okay. I mean, maybe Joan's right. Maybe it just has another.
Well, it does have another meaning, but I know
Yes.
this has been a source of an issue for you.
No, I was just trying to get the history right. I was just trying to get all of this, what's true,
Right.
Just get the facts right.
Hey, Jenny, I'm going to share something my friend Jan always says, understanding's the booby prize.
It is.
Yeah.
And I have to laugh when because I'll do that. I'm trying to logic through, I'm trying to make sense of it. I'm trying to prove it to myself, find the right answer, not the wrong one. And honest to God, that'll just keep me stuck.
Well, yeah, because you're filtering it through the intellect.
Yeah.
That's probably, like you said, that's probably what, for some reason, it just kind of brought it up again because you were reading it. And I'm like, oh, there's that. I know that one section. I keep thinking it was on 135.
It's interesting. On 134, just as expediency caused my followers to report my doings and teachings selectively to promote their own purposes, So has the selfishness of certain spiritually blind individuals caused them to distort Muhammad's original teachings with numerous additions and interpretations never intended. Wait a minute.
It's on the right page, the one on the right. I'm pretty sure. I can remember that. I think at the top.
Yeah, the top of 135 sort of diving into
Yeah.
that.
Oh, that's right. Good.
By being protected from the exercise of your human desires, they only increase until they break out in some virulent, brutal form. We say to men and women everywhere, true purity is only attained when you can be surrounded with every form of temptation and yet remain untouched by desire, unmoved by earthly feelings, untainted by earthly lust, free of craving and longing for possession. Purity in its every form transcends all earthly physical hungers. Purity is the ability to see temptation for what it is, grossness of thought and feeling, which traps the senses of men and women into doing unclean things. Now, unclean means human consciousness.
Okay.
A truly pure person desires only the clean and honest environment suited to their innate longing for spiritual love and beauty of self-expression in every facet of their lives. This is true purity. However, true purity cannot be achieved unless there have first been the long years of temptation. It is a necessary part of your spiritual development unless you have been sorely tempted at times and eventually come to understand that there is a higher road to walk, a road of self-denial and of sincere concern and caring for a good woman. You will never attain a state of true purity. You will be enslaved by desire and will be in a constant turmoil of inner conflict. Therefore, do not avoid temptation by covering women and living in artificial conditions of pseudo purity. Rather, men and women, remove your clothes, revere each other's bodies as the outer visible, beautiful forms of the inner divine consciousness, and experience the release that the true spiritual purity will bring you. Suffer grievous temptation and overcome. Take your conflict to divine consciousness and seek its power to help you overcome your physical longing. For only in this way you will find freedom and peace of mind you are basically seeking. If at the moment you seek relief and release of your craving by giving way to it, that is no freedom or release. The same self-craving will return in due course, and once again you will know the searing conflict. If again you give way, again the conflict, even more intense, awaits your decision to stand firm in the power of divine consciousness until that craving subdued by perceiving the sacred beauty and reality behind within all physical form. The highest spirituality between the sexes is when a man and a woman can be together, naked and at peace together in a state of mutual reverence of soul, mind, heart, and body. In such spirituality, all they feel for each other is love and regard for the well-being of the other. Out of such love and compassion, tender caring will come a union of ecstatic being that few have experienced, and if intended, a child of incomparable beauty of body and mind will be conceived.
Yeah, it kind of keeps going on and on, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'll have to look. I can't even find,
I'm just saying, I don't remember seeing the word celibacy, but that's why I want to find it.
all right, I'll
But
look.
Jesus is always talking about the consciousness, the intent, your mind, where you're at. So he was celibate out of that, the ego drive.
Yeah, and to me also celibacy can apply to greed and the accumulating stuff and bringing more and more to you, which separates the man and the woman too.
I'm gonna look real quick in my questions that I wrote down for you and see if I put the page real quick. Hold on.
I'm on I'm on the website, the Christ Letters, and there's a search there.
Okay.
Yeah, because I have a
Type in
question. I have a,
celibacy, it's nowhere. Like I don't remember seeing it or reading it or hearing it, but that doesn't mean anything.
I'm just gonna just look here.
well, and it may be very much like what, it may not have actually been the word celibacy.
Okay, here we go. Jesus became celibate because I chose to do so, but this in no way interfered with my love for the women who ministered to my needs. But Muhammad, after enlightenment, knew many women, and his ministry was one who was called upon to learn how to live and deal with women equitably with love. Just as expediency caused my followers to report my doings and teaching selectively to promote their own purposes, so has the selfishness of certain spiritually blind individuals caused them to distort Muhammad. So Jesus became celibate out of his choice, but it didn't interfere with his love of women, and he was entertained by a lot of women. He had them around. So Jesus chose not to engage in that form of sexuality when it was of the human consciousness, the cravings, and the desires. And he goes on to say that people are judging or have judged Muhammad wrong because he chose to still have many women and know them sexually, but he did it from that one love, the love and respect. And when it's done with love and respect, God doesn't care how many people you sleep with, doesn't care if you're having threesomes, it doesn't matter. It's the consciousness. If you're doing it out of that ego or the flesh desire, that's where you are bringing harm and basically letting out your own life force in the wrong way. Muhammad knew a lot of women, so did Buddha. They love sex, but they did it in the right consciousness, not to bring harm.
Well, what is he saying? What is he saying? I mean, as far as that statement about himself, what does that mean? Does that mean he did not have sex in just the physical way? Is that what he's talking about by celibate? He had it in a spiritual way, like Joan was saying earlier.
Yep,
Is that
absolutely. Because so here's the thing. Sex here on earth is completely different than spiritual sex. We don't have bodies outside of earth. We don't have innies and outies. It's completely different. It's all energy. And so the concept, our idea of sex and trying to filter how we have sex and the way it's looked at versus, Jesus, Muhammad, and all of that, our human intellect is going to hold on to that and keep you from the truth.
Okay, I get it now.
But that's what brings me back to, for you to go in and ask yourselves and ask Jesus, what is that root? There's a sexual idea or root that is tied with worth and love. Because even when you ask the question in different ways, it comes back to the same exact thing. Jesus having sex or Jesus not having sex. So there's a root there somewhere.
No, I was just trying to understand the concept, because when I looked it up, our definition means getting married or engaging in sex. And I'm thinking, no, wait a minute, he was married. And so I was confused because I was hearing these two different things.
And confusion will always come with altered ego to steal that pearl from you.
So I'm
Mhm.
hearing our definition, the human definition of it, and I'm just not understanding what was meant by his words.
Because you're trying to
Yes.
understand it with your mind, not your heart.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah,
I get
yeah.
it.
And so anytime, and I'm not picking on you or calling you out. I'm just trying to show you how altered ego will still steal pearls
Keep it
from
in
you.
this- Okay,
Because when I say it to you and say, well, there's a root there because you keep coming back to explain to say the same thing, but
so
then
there
you'll
must
say,
be,
but no, that's altered ego, not letting you hear
okay,
anything that's being said that goes against what the finite mind wants to hear.
I got you.
Yeah,
So
and
I,
who says you can't conceive a baby, a child, without the actual innie going in, I mean, the outie going in the innie. So, I
yeah,
think that's some of
That's
it
how
too
Mother
is,
Mary
yeah,
conceived.
yeah. Yes, I think
Third
that's
eye.
it. Yes,
Yeah.
so
Third
that
eye,
could
people,
be what
third
he
eye.
meant, is that when he became celibate, he no longer was actually doing that type of sex.
yeah, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
With
Yeah.
with other women. Now he still loved women, he honored them,
Mhm.
but it wasn't that physicality.
Yeah,
All right, well, I'll look at, is why it seems to bug me so much. I don't know.
Because there's a
Can-
root there that is literally not letting you hear from your heart or anything, because it's immediately saying no, but as we
Okay.
get into altered ego and shadow, I talk about that, because that soon as
Okay.
we say but, basically altered ego has shut down anything. It will not receive or hear any spiritual truths because it's already ready to come back with its own defense because it's not
Okay.
hearing exactly what
sure.
it wants to
I
hear.
got
And
you.
won't it show us ways that, when we say but, then it'll actually show us ways that the but makes more sense.
Oh yeah.
I'll read this or I'll see that, and it'll confirm the opposite.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
hello. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Yeah, I wanted to add to that too, because I had a similar issue that I've been working out throughout the years. But I grew up Catholic, but I had a really nice experience. I had really good role models, but I always knew that there was more to the truth. But I always been very monogamous in nature. But when I started getting into spirituality and New Age, and then, there's these beliefs that we're all supposed to be polyamorous, and it didn't rub me right. And I wanted to know the truth, like, what's the truth? So then when I started studying more theology and like the religions of Abraham, and then in Islam, according to their divine law, it's not that exactly how the doctor says. We're not, they like Muhammad didn't have sex with all these women in a very like vain way. It's supposed to be very divine. According to Islam law, they can get married with many wives if they're able to protect and provide for them. So it's supposed to come from a divine way, but they don't. But even knowing that, it just bothered me. I wanted to know what's the right way. Like, why do I feel monogamous, but other people are saying we're supposed to be polyamorous? And what I've come from it throughout the years is learning that, I'm an individual expression of God. And if I am monogamous, that's fine. I'm not monogamous because God or Jesus was monogamous, or because it's my way of expressing it, and it's fine. And sometimes I still want to like hear other perspectives, because it's like that part of me, like, which one is the right way?
Yeah.
And
why other, and I'm still like trying to settle in like what's me, and that there is no right or wrong, and it's okay for me to be monogamous, and if I change my mind, that's okay too. So I still struggle with that, but at least that's where I come from. So I understand when, what's behind like the word, like celibate, like what is it that's really like triggering you, even if you're just trying to understand what's like what did Jesus did. So at least for me, that was my story. And again, like I still struggle with sometimes, because I still, when I hear people go, oh, like I hear stories of people, of couples that are polyamorous and they're happy. And then I'm like, then I start questioning, is that the right way? Am I monogamous because I grew up in a, environment where people are monogamous? And then, when I go back to my heart, then I go, no, I'm monogamous because I'm monogamous, and that's fine. And it's not because it's better than other lifestyles, or, it's not about judging what's right or wrong, but,
Yeah.
the more that you
Yeah.
go back to your heart and you don't think, what's for you, and you also know that that's just a choice and you can change it as well, not because it's right or wrong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's a perfect example, because you're right, there is no right or wrong, but it takes our ego a lot to I don't want to say it takes our ego. It takes a lot to break down the ego to accept that, because any type of religion we grew up with, unless you're Mormon, but most of them teach monogamous. You got to get married, no sex before marriage, da 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 da, all of those things. And in truth, in the higher truth, the ascended masters aren't running around getting married. I mean, they can if they want. But in higher truth, in spirituality, it's a personal preference. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be monogamous. There's nothing wrong with polyamorous. The only time it's wrong is not, there's nothing wrong with same sex either. The only time it's wrong, as Jesus has tried to explain to us, and it's hard for us to understand at first, is the intention, the thoughts and feelings behind it. So polyamorous, if it's so funny, because Serge and I had this conversation last night. We were watching a movie, the Fate of the Furious, where the character, he's with one woman he's loved, blah blah blah. They thought she died. He ended up hooking with somebody else. They ended up having a baby. Now both women come back, all of this different things. And so I was telling Serge, I'm like, this kind of has this whole thing of this polyamorous, and I know it's becoming very popular. It's not as underground anymore. The basis behind it was, Vin Toretto loved both women. This happened to be a situation that he thought, Letty was dead. Years later, had this other relationship. Now Letty's not dead. What do you do? And I said, what? Unfortunately, the human mind gets involved. There's jealousy, there's this, there's that. When in truth, we are all one, we are all love, and you can love two people at the same time, because we're supposed to be love and love everybody. And if you're coming from that place of love, divine consciousness, love, and respect, doesn't matter if you're with one person, 10, 20, it's the consciousness of what you're doing in that act. And it's kind of like spirituality, where it needs to be unique. At least my take is it should be unique for each person, whatever, works for them and their enlightenment, and doesn't really need to be discussed or shared or broadcast unless, that's their platform or whatever. But it's one of those things that should also be very sacred, because it is unique.
And
well, and you mentioned,
Mhm.
you mentioned at one point, and I actually wrote it down, was we're not here to please God, we're here to express God in our own individualized way.
Yeah, and I want to also add, I didn't read the book, but I've always been very all the spirituality teachers or courses I've done, they're all interestingly have been aligned with the Christ consciousness and oneness teaching. I think I'm not sure, but I think it's the book from like the Magdalenas. One of the spiritual teachers that I follow, they were talking about it, and I think I'm not sure. It might not be that book, but I think it's written from the one of Jesus' daughters, Sarah's perspective. And I think she was saying that in that book, we had parallel lives. So there was like one of the lives that Jesus and Mary were like, just lovers and married, and they were like just one. And then there was others that he had other wives in. And then she was saying that when she was reading the book, she got triggered because she's very like monogamous by nature. So she's like, oh my God, how can Jesus not be only with Mary? Like it didn't make sense. And then she had to like ask herself, why is it bothering her so much? And then she said, like, and I didn't read the book yet, and I plan to in the future, but I think the book talks about like parallel lives. Like there was one that he had multiple wives, and then there was other that he was just with Mary. So, it's interesting because like we want to like judge it, and we want to like get offended, like, oh my God, but I'm very monogamous by nature in this lifetime, but who knows, in a parallel life, maybe I have two, 3 husbands. I'm not sure. So
Yeah.
it does get very more complicated that the human mind can understand, but it's still very fascinating.
And that's why we have to strive to shed the human beliefs, because we want to filter it through the beliefs. And true spirituality will fly opposite in the face of everything we've been taught, and it's supposed to. But and then Jesus and Mary Magdalene, that was an arranged marriage. It was for a divine purpose because of her background and what she was into and her purpose in his lifetime. So it's this, there are so many different things, but our finite mind wants us to say, well, the Bible said this was that Jesus came down and he only lived those 33 years and that's it. No, he existed before he came in Jesus's body. He's existed, there's so much. It just opens more and more. And that's why I stress, try not to get hooked on any words or concepts, because as you gain more enlightenment, it's going to broaden even more. The truth never changes, it expands. Joan, did you have a question with what I had said about we're not here to please God, we're here to express God?
No, I had a different question, and I know we're running long. I didn't want to necessarily get on another topic. The question that keeps coming up for me, speaking of getting hung up on a word, is why has it been used? Why has the word Christ been used as Christ consciousness? I know it's spoken in other ways too, universal consciousness, whatever. Because that's the word that I think trips us all up, is that it brings us back to Christianity versus the overall consciousness.
Absolutely. And that there's the reason we're using Christ consciousness so much more now is because we are in that time. We are in the time of tribulation, and we need to make that distinction. So Jesus was only Jesus when he was in his human form, and he was really called Yeshu ben Joseph.
Right.
Universal consciousness is the same as Christ consciousness.
Right.
So Christ, when Jesus became the Christ isn't a person, it's a consciousness. But religion has tainted that for our human belief is Christ, it's Jesus. No, it's not. When he came out of the desert, he actually and got baptized with John. He came up out of that water as the Christ, because that's when he took on and embodied the Christ consciousness.
Because we've made a religion around Christ or Christianity.
And a person.
There's where, yes, and that's where I get tripped up on it. It's like, I don't want to go back to Christianity.
Yep.
And
exactly.
So the word Christ will, like Ginny with celibacy, the word
exactly.
Christ will suck me in again. Yes.
Oh yeah, exactly. And that's also why you'll hear Jesus use different words than the Father.
Yeah.
Because he knew how strong and powerful the mind was and the people's beliefs. So he had to use words at that time to try to penetrate and get them to understand. And yeah, and so now we've got thousands of years of this idea of the Christ being a person or God being this.
Or a religion.
Yeah. And so first and foremost, Christ is a consciousness. It's not a person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to have to get over my getting hung up on getting sucked into Christianity, religion, and all that when I hear the word Christ.
Yeah.
So
And it's a process. I got stuck on my own shit and my own words when I was learning this. So that's why I stress it to you in the way I do, because I don't want you guys taking years to break through like I did, because I was so damn stubborn.
So then we stole Christians kind of took that term that was supposed, it's really, like you said, it's a
Consciousness.
It's a consciousness.
But they took that term and then we made it into Christianity as though it was one person.
Yep. And and Christianity was built out of human concepts. He talks about that even his disciples didn't fully get it. And after his death, they were afraid to speak the truth. It took them 30 years before they wrote what's in the Bible. And soon as he was gone, they went back to their old ways and conforming to religion. So yes, Christianity, and this is why, and I know I have to be careful because I'm not bagging on them, but for me, I do call it the biggest cult on the planet, because it is rooted in duality, judgment, fear, doubt, and confusion, and it has nothing to do with the truth of our being, of our existence. It's not even the truth of Jesus or Yeshua's life or the Christ.
Yeah.
He tried to teach that, but they weren't ready to hear it. So now that's why you're seeing you're going to see more of us start rising up and talking about the Christ consciousness. And there are so many spiritual groups in the world that are doing wonderful things. They may call it universal consciousness. Hell, I don't know. There may be a spiritual group out there that calls it Bob the Tree. It doesn't matter. The point is, it doesn't matter the name, but yes, for us to get past, and it took me a while to.
Yeah, because you were talking about that, that Christianity, it was duality and it was all these things. That's what the word Christ will pull me into.
Yep.
I don't believe in that stuff. That doesn't resonate for me. So yeah, I just need to pay attention to that. The word triggers me, and I was like, okay, Joan, breathe with that one.
And you can call it universal consciousness. You could call it your I am consciousness.
Yeah.
Because I don't always call it the Christ consciousness. You'll hear me say my I am consciousness. It's the same Christ consciousness, but I know that's a word that's triggering. And I also had to go through my own desensitization. Didn't say that right. Process. So the word Christ consciousness is the same as I am consciousness, higher consciousness, universal consciousness, source of existence. It all means the same.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So yes, we have gone over. I've enjoyed my time.
Yes. Well, we talked a lot in the beginning, so, we didn't get started. So
We did. We did.
Did you put green in your hair?
Green? No.
Oh,
no.
it must be my camera. It looks like you had like green highlights going.
Oh, no.
down there. It looks pretty.
Thank you. No green highlights.
Wait, I think it's reflecting the green in that balloon over your head or something.
The butterfly.
Oh, the butterfly. Yeah.
I couldn't see it. I saw the green. Oh yeah. Pretty.
So,
Well, ladies, I need to go. It's good to be with you all.
Yeah,
And
thank you, Denae.
yes,
Yeah.
you're welcome.
Bye.
I hope you guys like this format.
Bye, Illy.
I do.
I do too.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
Bye,
Ellie.
Elaine. Yeah.
Good, because it just fits better for me anyways. So
Yay.
yay. All right, you guys, enjoy the rest of your day.
You too.
And I will see you live on Wednesday.
Amen.
All right.
See you
Bye.
guys
Bye.
later. Bye-bye.
Bye.